I am the son of a conservative politician and he wants me to seduce his opponent. I need you to make him fall for you. That was the first thing my father said when I came home from Collegino Hug. No, how have you been? Just instructions on how to weaponize my sexuality against his biggest political threat. His name was Julian Lake, and he was everything my father hated. Openly gay, progressive, unapologetic, and now, apparently, the object of a mission I never signed up for. Politics is war, Dad had said. You're just my secret weapon. I should have said no. But when you've spent your whole life suffocating under the weight of someone else's dreams, sometimes the most rebellious thing you can do is play along, especially if it means getting closer to someone who might finally see you for who you really are. Julian was magnetic in a way I hadn't prepared for. Not just the kind of charming that worked well on debate stages and TV interviews, but warm, sharp, and unexpectedly disarming in person. He was 10 years older than me, but when he smiled at me across the fundraiser table, I felt like a teenager again, skin hot and lungs too small for my chest. Riley, right? He asked, offering his hand. Your dad's son. I flinched. Yeah, unfortunately. He raised an eyebrow. That's so? I shrugged, trying to keep it casual. Let's just say I didn't inherit the politics. Julian chuckled, and God, that sound was trouble. Then I guess we have something in common. That night, we talked more than I expected. I was supposed to flirt, to lead him on, to get close enough for a scandal my father could use. But by the time we'd finished our third glass of wine and were laughing over how he once accidentally outed a senator's affair on Twitter, I realized I was dangerously close to enjoying myself. Worse, I wasn't pretending anymore. I told myself I was still in control, that I could toe the line between real and fake without falling. But the next time we met, accidentally, at a local coffee shop, I knew he looked genuinely happy to see me. Careful, he said with a grin. People might think I'm corrupting a conservative's son. I leaned closer than I needed to. What if I want to be corrupted? His smile faltered just a little, just enough to tell me I'd hit a nerve. We started meeting in secret after that. Sometimes in busy cafes, other times on rooftop bars where no one cared who kissed whom. We talked about things that had nothing to do with politics: his love for old jazz records, my dream of escaping to New York to write music, the pressure we both lived under. He never pushed, never asked why I always changed the subject when he mentioned my father. He just listened, and looked at me like I was more than some pawn in a game I didn't even believe in. And somewhere in the middle of it all, without meaning to, without wanting, toy fell for him. Which was exactly the plan. Only not mine. I started sleeping with my phone under my pillow, terrified my father would see one of Julian's late-night texts. I avoided campaign events and Sunday dinners. I lied. A lot. But no matter how deep I sank into the double life, I couldn't bring myself to stop. Then came the night everything shattered. It was late. Julian and I were in his apartment, music playing low, the lights dimmed. I was tracing circles on his chest, his fingers tangled in my hair. I almost told him everything right then. About the plan. About my father. About the lie that had turned into the truest thing I'd ever felt. But before I could speak, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and I felt his body tense under mine. You okay? I asked. He didn't answer, just handed me the phone. It was a leaked email. From my father. About me. About Julian. About Operation Lake. I sat up, cold all over. You knew, I whispered. He stared at me, eyes unreadable. Not until now. I tried to explain. Tried to tell him I never wanted this, that it started as a lie but turned into something real. That he was the first person I'd ever felt safe with. He stood, shaking his head. Do you even know who you are, Riley? Or have you always just been what your father told you to be? I left in silence. For days, I didn't hear from him. I ignored my father's calls. My stomach twisted every time I thought about how it had all ended, with betrayal, with shame, with the sick knowledge that I'd hurt the only person who'd ever seen me for me. But Julian Lake wasn't just anyone. He was bold, brave, honest, and unforgiving. I saw his next campaign ad 2 days later. It opened with a shot of him on stage talking about corruption. Then it cut on me. A photo of the two of us from a week before, blurry but undeniable. "This is Riley Cross," his voice said. "He's the son of Senator Jonathan Cross and the person I've been seeing, until I found out his father was using him to manipulate my campaign." My heart stopped. "But here's what I've decided," Julian said in the ad. "I'm not ashamed of loving someone, even if he lied to me, even if he broke my trust, because what we had was real. And I hope, someday, he realizes that. He could have destroyed me, ruined me, outed me in the cruelest way, but instead he told the truth, with grace, and love, and pain. That was when I knew I had to fight, not for my father's approval, not for my old life, for him, for us. I wrote him a letter, a real one, no texts, no edits, just the truth. I told him everything, how I'd been trapped my whole life, how being with him made me want to be better, freer, how I'd trade everything I'd ever been promised for one more chance to be with him honestly. I didn't know if he'd read it, but 3 days later he showed up outside my apartment. No cameras, no speeches, just him. "I got your letter," he said. I nodded, throat tight. I meant every word. He looked at me for a long time. Then he stepped forward, hands trembling slightly, and pressed his forehead to mine. "No more lies," he whispered. "Never again," I promised. We kissed on my doorstep, and for the first time in my life it felt like I wasn't pretending. I was home. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.